Cool. Let's get it started. We're still waiting on a few more people. I just shared the message in the communities to remind our community members. But very happy to have you here, Blazar. And how's everyone doing? David, Blazar.
Thanks for having me on. Good to be here. Good morning. So awesome.
One second. I see David left. I'm fixing my speakers right now. Okay, cool. Let me hear you, Blazar. Can you try it out?
Yeah, sure. Hey, you all right?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. How's it going, man? Like I missed your response, so I'm asking you again. How are you doing on this beautiful Friday morning?
It's going great. It's going great. Thanks again for inviting me on here and having this chat. Great to be here.
Dude, thanks for coming. Like this was supposed to take place a little bit like a week ago, more or less. But with all the situation that was taking place, we had to postpone it a little bit. But happy to have you here now. And yeah, like we brought you all here. Like we wanna go into detail on Furucombo on the next Twitter Spaces. Like today is gonna be mostly focused on talking DeFi. Like we are lucky to have you all here. Like you all are building an extremely user-friendly DeFi product, and you'll have to deal with a lot of different DeFi technologies, like offerings, narratives as well. So we thought y'all would be the perfect person or the perfect team to have it here and get to talk on what's going on in DeFi. But before we go into that, even though we won't go super into detail on or presenting or fully presenting Furucombo today, I would love at least a brief explanation on what is Furucombo, what do y'all do, and how do y'all make DeFi easier for users?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean it's kind of a difficult subject because there's so much to it, especially with how quick it's building out, how many developers are centralized finance products. Um, but yeah, the team's really great at Furucombo. We're uniquely positioned in a way that a lot of protocols are working on. Maybe they launch on different chains and they're just focused on working. But with Furucombo, all our development is done in house. We're one of the only protocols that work on proxy systems is unique. Basically, Furucombo is the place that we hope that you come your one stop needs, and that's going to be doing all your trading actions. Anything you need to do can be done on Furu. So basically, we're just a proxy system that will relay your transaction from any of the blue chip protocols or protocols that we integrate through the proxy and then execute that on your behalf. So the benefit of that is it kind of allows you to only have to learn one interface. You don't have to worry about what protocols are available in the network. We try to have the most robust and best protocols for you to interact with, and then basically all the systems that you. So I like to talk about Furucombos just as like a DeFi aggregator. So we're going to have these protocols. You're going to be able to select which protocol you want to deal with, and then you're going to add the cube into a. So the cube allows you to combo together transactions. So you could, for example, bridge to Metis and maybe add some swap cubes in there before you bridge. Maybe you don't have Metis token to bridge. You can add the swap token so you can pick up some Metis, bridge it to Metis, and then once you're on Metis, you can perform some swaps. You can deposit in the Aave, send tokens to different addresses. You can manage your position, our lending dashboard. So really, we just try to help with the complexity and then also provide some new tools that aren't otherwise possible. So because of the way Furucombo is and the fact that you can chain transactions together, it also gives you some utility that otherwise wouldn't be. So for example, you can manage your lending position and you can take advantage of utility that you can't do with just one transaction. without being able to chain it together with a flash. So first and foremost, main functionality around that is flash loan. So uh, flash loan allows you to borrow funds and you have to pay those funds back at the end of the transaction. So this increases the volume for the lending protocols and then fees for those who are providing funds into Aave, for example. And then that allows you to take advantage of things like debt swap, collateral swap, leverage, and leverage. That utilizing the flash loan, so you don't have to have any upfront funds to take advantage of these actions. So, for example, if I wanted to um, change my collateral on a lending position like Aave, and I have borrowed debt on there, I have to pay back my debt before I can change my collateral position. But with Furucombo, with the lending dashboard, with flash loans, you can just one click change that asset because you're going to borrow the funds from the flash loan. You're going to use those funds to change your collateral and then repay that flash loan at the end of the transaction. You're just basically using those funds to swap without having to. So yeah, again, that's collateral swap. You can do debt swap, and then so you open yourself up to functionalities that wouldn't otherwise be possible. So that's why we kind of have this unique proposition, and we're always looking at ways that we can help expand and kind of create an ecosystem that's more robust than would otherwise be possible.
Dude, I love it. I said I was not gonna go like super deep into for a combo yet, but I do find this fascinating. I think that simplifying DeFi is what is gonna bring the next wave of users, like making it seamless. An example of this that we've seen recently is this Unibot. Have you heard about the Unibot project?
Oh, I haven't to know.
Yeah, so like it's been popping like lately, like a lot of people in crypto Twitter talking about it. And it's because of that same concept, simplifying DeFi. Like people are just able to kind of like type commands in Telegram and stuff. And they not only can execute trades from Telegram, but also has certain things like MEF protection and alternatives that make the whole experience kind of like fruitful. Like it makes it super seamless and super nice. So I do believe that applications like Furucombo or Unibot in this example, like are going to be key for bringing DeFi users over here. Like the simplicity is key, or less is more in this sense, you know. And I do
Mm-hmm.
think Furucombo makes a really good job in that. You're kind of like putting all those transactions or all that hassle into one click thing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff for sure. It can be a little daunting maybe if you are unaware of the interface or just checking things, but once you get the hang of it, then you can kind of see.
Yeah, for sure. So getting started a little bit on the DeFi side. So how long has Furucombo been live again?
We are live for about 2 years and 7 months. Maybe a bit longer than that, but that's about when people started noticing Fruit Combo was coming out of beta. We're launching our token, that kind of stuff. So the beginning of 2021.
Okay, okay. So you've been out there for a while already. I would like in crypto, 1 year is like dog years, like 7 years. So like pretty much you've been out there for 14 years. So just wondering, what has been the kind of like the evolution of what people ask you all to integrate? Kind of like I bet at the beginning it was pretty basic stuff as DeFi wasn't as developed or enhanced as nowadays. And nowadays, y'all are probably getting kind of like crazy requests as well. Like, I mean, I see you all doing like collateral swaps and all these things. Like, what has that evolution looked like? Like, if you can tell us a little bit of what was the main or the original things that y'all thought or like y'all were getting asked to integrate, and how do those compare with now with the spectrum kind of like nowadays?
No, that's a great question. Yeah, it's interesting because I guess initially the focus was mainly just on Ethereum, so we didn't have to worry about all this multi-chain situation. Could focus on protocols that might be useful to just Ethereum users. So I think initially the main focus was on kind of adding as much composability to Ethereum uh, that's possible. And the interesting thing there is, it's there's a lot of protocols that were kind of new at the time. It wasn't really sure which protocols would be the best to integrate or which were going to be around long term. But nowadays we have protocols like Aave, Curve, Compound that are kind of blue chip protocols now. So whereas before it's like, well, do we integrate this protocol? What is their audit situation? What is their treasury? Are they going to have users for the next 2 to 5 to 10 years? Are they going to be around? Now it's a little bit more certain as to which protocols are best to kind of integrate and follow around the ecosystem. So one we really obviously like working with is Aave because we can provide that extra step above what they can and provide that composability, those tooling, um, working with them, following what they're doing. So um, now we can kind of say, okay, Aave's on this chain, Aave's on Metis. We can kind of look at expanding there and providing that utility. So whereas before it was kind of unsure, now there's these blue chip protocols that we can kind of follow and look at. So that's one of the main things now I think is DeFi then was a little uncertain. You're mainly focused on just one chain, whereas now we've expanded to this kind of huge multi-chain ecosystem. You have to kind of worry about bridges. You have to worry about kind of, is this going to be easy enough for people to transfer their funds to take advantage of it? You have to look at following around these protocols, and that makes it easier for us in a right because we know that Aave is going to have the same code on every ecosystem, so that makes it easier for us to deploy. So with the Furucombo proxy, we have to think about what is the security risk, because if one handler, as we call it, or one protocol can act as a risk to the rest of the proxy, then we need to be aware of that. So we can't just integrate something that's new code all the time. Or it's a lot more difficult. We have to go for audits. We have to look at internally as a team what risk factors there might be, sure that there's no issues with how the handler might interact with the proxy and other users who have approved transactions, that kind of thing. So I think back in the day too, there was more risk and kind of a lot more uncertainty. Whereas now, I don't want to say the risk is lower, but it's kind of transitioned. We see more risk
The
on.
risk is different.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We haven't seen a lot of hacks on these blue chip protocols, but now we're seeing kind of things happening with bridges and other situations. So
100%, 100%. Like, so that's I was gonna like let you finish, but multi-chain is actually like that's the dangers of kind of like it's a double-edged sword. So like it brings the beauty of being able to interact with all these different like ecosystems and a way larger audience, but with the cost of like not having the same security assumptions in all kind of like networks. You're never gonna find something as secure as Ethereum in
mm-hmm,
blockchain, in my opinion.
mm-hmm,
So that's it's a double-edged sword. It takes kind of like they said, like engineers say, like there's no solution. There's only trade-offs. So that's a trade-off of being able to interact with all these ecosystems and expand the audience.
yeah, 100%.
Um, I was I was wondering, do y'all like in the past when y'all have expanded to other ecosystems, do y'all usually like stay? For example, if you arrive to an ecosystem and you offer four main products or four main kind of like cubes or strategies. Do you all usually stay with those only, or do you all tend to expand the offerings and integrate other kind of like ecosystem projects as well?
Yeah, that's another great question. I think it depends on kind of how the network is taken to a product, if people are utilizing it, and if we can kind of add utility to help expand that. So, in a lot of cases, there's maybe some actions that, for example, don't integrate well with a proxy. Like you can't claim rewards because they can't be claimed through a proxy con. So there are some limitations to the proxy system that we have to kind of think about. And another thing is like other, like for example, our competitors like DeFi Saver, InstaD app, they utilize like a smart wallet system. So we try to stay away from that. And then there might be some actions that you can do with a smart wallet that you can't do with your standard wallet. So again, there's limitations to the proxy system that we have to look at. But of course, we want to try to expand our composability as much as possible and provide utility. Um, because of the, now we're on 7 chains, we need to, there's a lot of resources and dev time that goes into adding composability. Again, especially if it's not something that's blue chip, it's something that we look at, measure the security risk, that kind of thing. So I think some networks obviously we focus on more than others. Like Polygon was the second network that we launched on, so there's more functionality there than is available on other chains. For example, we have the lending dashboard, best page, kind of other tooling that's available that isn't available on other chains yet. Of course, we're looking to expand that, but yeah, it's we have about 10 to 12 developers. So yeah, we really have to pick and choose. But of course, we'd like to kind of provide as much tooling as possible. But it just really depends on the network, the relationship we have with the team, and what's the best.
Definitely, definitely. So in kind of like in the last few months, the main narratives have been kind of like liquid staking derivatives, or well, mainly liquid staking derivatives. Kind of like, is there any big kind of like a ask or something that any any suggestion from the community that y'all are getting a lot lately, kind of like in regards to integrating certain product? And what would that be? Would that be liquid staking derivatives or something else that community has been asking for? Just wondering because I I guess as the industry kind of like moves and the narratives change, the type of asks that you all get in terms of integrations is different from the community. So I'm just wondering what's it now, and like what is the community or users looking for now in terms of DeFi?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, liquid staking for sure is a big part. We have Lido on Ethereum right now, so that's one functionality that we have there. I'd obviously like to look to expand that to kind of any chain, every chain, whatever staking options are available. That's really good for DeFi. Definitely, allows you to support, validate the network, and then also take those funds and use those in DeFi and provide kind of EVL to the network. And that's a big problem today, I think, with this multi-chain. Now you have fragmentation of value, you have fragmentation of volume. So it becomes difficult. Like, does, especially for you guys, like, do you incentivize to bring value or volume to the network as kind of like the bounty traders or bounty liquidity providers, and then once incentives leave, do people just leave? So there's a lot of difficulty there, and so definitely, I think the liquid staking is an interesting perspective because it helps with providing some rewards, and then also, you can put those funds to work in maybe some reasonable liquidity farms that are earning you a bit more, and you don't have to provide these huge. So I think that's a big part. Derivatives for sure, options. You see, GMX Gains Network. Those are really popular tools because people can, you can put in $1,000 and you can come out with $15,000-$20,000 after you're leveraging your
Yep.
funds, right? And that's generating
Yep.
a lot of volume. So any kind of leverage protocol like that, I think, is super popular right now. So yeah, definitely that. I'm trying to think of. I think the NFT situation is still in its infancy, but it can kind of mature a bit, and we can get some utility and buy around kind of lending or borrowing NFTs and actions around that. But I think we're still a
Absolutely.
ways away from that
It
one.
would be awesome to see NFT fi,
Yeah, yeah,
or
definitely.
that new sector coming up in the Furucombo as well.
Yeah, that's something kind of where we've explored, and we're kind of just waiting on the sidelines for kind of things to there. Yeah, I think that's
And,
a thing to look at as well.
and like whenever you were talking about the incentivized campaigns or etc., and how it, it most of the time it results in users leaving the chain when incentives are done. We have seen that, but we have also seen the opposite. Like for example, in Arbitrum, we didn't see such a big case of that because they had very kind of like sticky protocols. Like users were sticky in the network because of these protocols that actually gave users something innovative, something to do. Like it's a combination. Kind of like if you really want to retain those users after incentive campaigns, you got to combine it with these type of sticky protocols, and that will get users and entertain them, or actually enable them to earn big yields, real yields, regardless of incentive campaigns. I believe the purpose or how incentive campaigns should be seen is just kind of like opening the doors for people to come and check out the ecosystem. It shouldn't be about retaining the users only with the incentive campaigns, but only bringing them and kind of like showing them all the nice things that there are in the ecosystem. If the yields that you are giving out during those incentives are the only exciting thing in the ecosystem, then yeah, users will definitely leave. So you're right, but I think it also has a little bit more on that, and it can be done in a way in which users remain sticky, or they keep using the network after it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 100%, 100% agree. And that's kind of the next narrative, I guess, right? Is looking at kind of real yield. So we see that a bit. I guess that first started Uniswap V3, looking at, okay, now we're not providing any rewards, but you're kind of leveraging mission in a way that you've created kind of boundaries for earning, and now you can kind of create a leverage on your position, and you can earn more real yield than would otherwise be possible with V2. And again, going to these kind of options platforms, the liquidity providers are, there's so much volume there that you can generate kind of a real yield from your deposits there. So that's definitely the next step, and for sure there has to be some balance between providing rewards and then getting something back. And I think it's a good point that you make, that when you're providing rewards, or when you're bringing these protocols that are kind of blue chip protocols like Aave, people are more interested to stay on the platform. And when the platform works well, that's another huge part. Like if you're only spending a quarter of a penny on a transaction, and it's 3 seconds finality, and user experience is good, and the RPCs aren't failing, and everything works great, it's going to make a huge difference. So 100% agree with you, and I think again, what we focus on is improving the user experience, and when everything works together, when the chain is working together with the protocol and the community is great, then it just creates a great user experience, and people are interested in what's going on, and they want to continue and using the products that are available.
Fully agree. Fully agree. I thought I told Emilio, which is also kind of like a colleague from Metis, to hop on. He's also a fellow DeFi enjoyer, so
Mhm.
I think he could add some value to the conversation as well. Emilio, happy to have you here.
Good morning, guys. I'm really enjoying the chat. It's great, and thanks for being here, sir. I love Furucombo. I'm a big fan, and I
Thank you,
actually
thank you.
wanted to ask you. Yeah, of course, the product is great. I actually wanted to ask you, and I don't want to deviate the conversation, but I think it's worth asking. I want to know your thoughts on the future of DeFi. I know vibes are up, everyone is euphoric. We're happy, tokens are pumping. But what do you think? I ask this to all the guests we have because we have Giga Brains as guests, and I want to know your opinion on your own thought, thought thoughts on what's going to happen with, you know, DeFi in general here from 5 years or 10 years.
Yeah,
Actually, okay, let me, you know what, Emilio, let's do 1 year. Let's do 1 year for now. Like,
Great. Let's do one
remember,
year, then let's do 1 year, then 5, and then 10. Okay. I
remember,
want to see your vision.
remember, we're talking about dog years here. So you asking my man to predict what's gonna happen in the next 35 years, pretty much.
Not predict, but actually your vision as a builder of Furucombo.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Not just regarding Furucombo, but the entire crypto industry in general.
Yeah, I mean that's well, it's definitely a loaded question, but I think it's important to consider and think about the reason why we're all here to begin with, right? And so DeFi is essentially, decentralized finance, and we need to think about why are we building these tools. So it's a really important question, and I think like there's a lot of situations where if we go to the normal world, banks are entities that are taking advantage of the situation, making billions and trillions of dollars, and creating situations for people that aren't efficient and aren't ideal. And so coming now with DeFi, we have a situation where, for example, we can bank the unbanked, bring people into an ecosystem where they can trade with each other, where there's no intermediary, there's no worry about a company going bankrupt and a government having to bail it out. So all this is possible with Ethereum starting it off with the smart contract. So now we can create contracts where you can lend your funds to a protocol like Aave, and you can borrow from those people who have made those deposits. And then everything is mathematical. You don't have to worry about someone from the Aave team going in and stealing all the funds. You have to worry about, is there an issue with this kind of smart contract, which is all now available, open for everyone to look at. So it's definitely a different ecosystem. And with any new technology, early on, there's going to be a lot of growing pain. And I think within the next, I mean, this space moves really fast. Within the next 1 to 3 to 5 years, maybe, it's kind of hard to say where we're going to go, but I think we're going to see a situation where as the user experience gets easier, as there's more trust in the ecosystem, more and more people are going to start using it. And then you're just going to hit an inflection point where this thing just takes off and it's so easy to use and everyone is just kind of using these systems. Transaction costs are low. You don't have to worry about which chain you're on and which, sending funds around. It's just going to happen all naturally and it's going to be easy to use. And then you're going to see a situation where it becomes a use case for people, if I want to send funds to my friend in China or something, I can just jump on to my app and send it to him, and it's a quarter of a penny, gets to him in 3 seconds. Now I don't have to worry about Western Union or driving somewhere or e-transferring, and they think he's a hacker scammer, and now they've locked the funds, and then I got to call the bank, or so there's so many situations that DeFi can help people have a better life, reduce the risk overall, and just make the user experience better. So I think it's important to focus on what the main use cases are there. And yeah, it's tough to say where we're going to be, but I think if there's such good people, such good builders in this space, I think we'll definitely get there, and it's going to be a definite transition away from how we know things today, and we're going to transition into a whole new paradigm where decentralized finance takes over, and we continue to build on these use cases and things that we haven't seen yet, like collateralized lending, or uncollateralized lending rather, and mortgage contracts and things that are done on the blockchain that aren't yet.
Great answer, sir. And this is a conversation we were having also with Jose the other day, because we are both from Latin America, and here crypto is not just like a trend where you make money and you speculate on shitcoins. Like, people also do it. I do it. But it's mostly, yeah, I mean, it's like a drug. You cannot leave the shitcoining. But in DeFi, for example, I pay rent using crypto in my country, and I pay services sometimes using also my crypto. And when I send money to my family, for example, in other country in Latin America, I also use USDT or any other crypto. To be honest, I have used, I think a lot of the top 10 cryptos, I have used them to send it to my family. So here in Latin America, crypto is not just like a trend, but a necessity. And what you said is literally what's already happening here. Like in Argentina, there's like, I don't know, like, I think it was 40% adoption of crypto because people use DAI and USDC, USDT because of inflation.
Right.
So yeah, this is a topic that really excites us, Jose and I.
That's great. That's great. And yeah, I mean, it's a different system that gets you away from the kind of the problems with the, and there's so many problems there. Any issue that we have in DeFi is such a small kind of circumstance when you compare the issues with.
Yeah, exactly that. Like, for example, in bridges, when we were discussing here on bridges, I mean, it's a problem. It's a big problem that we are going multi-chain, and right now is a problem. But comparing it to, the scam that we are living in, especially in, for example, countries like Argentina, where inflation is like fucking, 150%. Interest rates are insanely high. It's nothing compared to that. So yeah, we have problems, of course, but future looks bright.
Yeah, I mean, 100%, and there's solutions to these problems, um, that are much simpler. Like, for example, the bridge issue. Once you have kind of currencies, then it doesn't become cluster. But how do you fix high interest rates and high inflation, but the stagflation problems that stem from 50 to 100 years ago? It's just a system that needs to be completely revamped and looked at. So the solutions in our space is much easier to deal with, although it may seem like a big deal at the time. Kind of 3-5 years down the road, people happen today.
Yeah, it's more like a technical problem than a systematic problem, like in the real world.
Exactly.
And I wanted to ask you, what are you most excited about? For example, Metis just launched an eco node, CKM. Uh, it's really new, and the technology is great with CK MIPS. What are you excited about? Like, for example, something like that in infrastructure, or like, something like really allow us to build stuff for the next 5 years or 35 years of dog age. What are you excited about?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, ZK technology is really cool. I'm a big proponent right now because of the bridge situation of kind of native assets and creating a situation where, like, especially with the situation that happened on Phantom, where now you all these multi-chain bridged assets kind of depegging, and people didn't even realize that the assets they held on Phantom were of this derivative that doesn't hold its value, or if there's a hack on the bridge, kind of that situation. So traditionally, for people that don't know, if you're bridging to a network in the original system like Phantom, you deposit your USDC into a smart contract on Ethereum or whichever chain, and then they will mint that on the other side, and it's supposed to hold its value because the amount that's held in the smart contract on the original chain matches what's on the other. But if the funds get hacked, then there's nothing backing it, and now your value changes. People are selling off, rightfully so, because if the funds are gone, there's nothing there to protect you. There's no insurance. The multi-chain team, the founder, was allegedly put in jail, and all kinds of other situations. So if we can create a kind of a canonical asset where you're getting the native asset, say USDC, is the same on Ethereum as it is on Metis. Now you don't have to worry, oh, is if the bridge gets hacked, now I still have this native asset. Circle will still honor it, and now there's no issues there. So I think that's huge, and I've always been a proponent of like the Cosmos ecosystem, the way that they do their bridging. It's kind of typically it's native assets across each chain, and it's all done with a contract that's standardized. So I think once we see kind of standardized bridging and native assets, that's going to help bring this kind of multi-chain ecosystem together, and then make it much more robust and easier for users. And then again, with the ZK technology, it's all built then on the security of Ethereum, and you're kind of bringing everything together under kind of one umbrella. Whereas right now you're kind of building this umbrella, but it's still kind of fragmented. So I think that's huge for me. I think once that kind of gets together, then it's going to be game changing.
Okay, okay. So I I was just letting it go because I am, like Emilio said, I'm also kind of like from Latin America, so I have seen what kind of like all the improvements that this technology has brought. Also, the kind of like facilitating people from regions in which banking systems may not be as trustable, like to access these services. And I mean, right now we're seeing, yes, very high yields on US treasuries, on notes, on all these things of like traditional finance wise. But as soon as we stop seeing these rate hikes, as soon as we start seeing these rates coming down, I think it's going to boil down to real yield, and the platforms, at least like DeFi speaking, platforms that really provide a DeFi yield and can have sustainable returns of 5% or more, like those are going to be the real winners, because we already saw the amount of capital that flew in into crypto when yields were zero and or close to zero. So I believe once we start seeing yields go down again, we're going to start seeing a lot of money rotating into crypto again. But long term, only those real yield applications and the one with sustainable businesses are going to be the ones that truly succeed, you know? But they're like definitely like fascinated and low-key hyped to see what happens in the next few months and years in terms of like crypto adoption.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a great point too. I mean, today we're seeing, I would imagine, 85% of DeFi users, maybe even higher, are just kind of household users. Um, but we haven't seen a large push for the institute to come into DeFi yet. And I think that's where, that those are the kind of entities that could just blow this thing right out of the water with huge TVL, huge volume, a huge kind of regulatory push of these companies getting out of the standard system, entering into this. So I think that's another huge component of the next 3 to 5 years. And then I think it's interesting because once you get a few companies in here, they start to see the amount of yield and volume and kind of ease of use and everything else, then you're gonna all these other companies are gonna feel like they're gonna FOMO, so they're gonna want to enter the space as well. So we see kind of regulations opening up a bit in Hong Kong and Singapore. Obviously, the Ripple situation yesterday in the United States. So as
Dude, it's
the
insane. Insane.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So that's really good news for us. And it's kind of unfortunate that the U.S. has taken the position that they have, but I think they're starting to realize that you can't beat them, you got to join them. And unfortunately, the banks have been fighting crypto for the last 5 years or so, but I think it's starting to change.
Dude, the BlackRock CEO that was saying that Bitcoin was an index for money laundering like 5 years ago, and today he was saying that Bitcoin is is an asset that will transcend, and because of its international nature and a bunch of stuff. And it's just like, bro, I'm happy you realized it, but come on, so people are indeed like TradFi is indeed taking or reevaluating their stance, as you were saying, and every day we have more examples of that.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And these people are pretty smart, I think, but they have to be careful what they say and the way they say it because there's so many stakeholders that might take it the wrong way. So we've seen a lot of backpedaling on people's positions, but I think in the end, everyone realizes the power that's here. But of course, there's entities out there that don't want to give power back to the people, and they're always going to try to fight it along. So what we don't want to see though is kind of these powerful entities come in and take over the market and change the way that things are today. So I think we really have to continue to fight to ensure that these protocols are decentralized, that everything makes sense in the smart contract, no intermediaries, and don't allow these powerful kind of entities that are just looking out for themselves to change the line.
Yep. Emilio, do you have anything to add to that? If not, I might just see if anyone wants to come up the stage and ask some final questions before we close out. We still have 8 more minutes.
No, I'm good. Just that I'm thinking about stuff regarding our region and how vibes are so up right now that I'm even more optimistic and bullish regarding the future of Latin America and Africa and India and other countries that might not have the infrastructure of the US or Europe or Australia to become wealthy nations and regions thanks to this technology. So yeah, I'm just thinking about that. It's great. Thanks for this conversation,
huge.
guys.
It's huge. Yeah. I mean, I think coming from North America, I don't think people realize how bad the situation could be if you live somewhere where you couldn't get access to funds. You can't just go to the bank and take out a loan for a mortgage and build your family up and that kind of thing. So this creates systems that allow this to happen. And I think use cases that maybe it's difficult to think about all the use cases there, but like for example, you could do you could generate electricity and use the blockchain to facilitate selling that to someone else, or carbon credit trading, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of use cases. I think as the kind of standard market gets more involved, we're going to see kind of these use cases build out. Mortgages, as I mentioned, on the blockchain, you can maybe sell your house, sell the rights to your property directly to someone else, get the funds without any intermediary. And this just helps to bring the efficiency up and the the time and effort and understanding of kind of doing this the traditional way. Areas where there's a lot of corruption, it can definitely help with this too, right? Because you're selling your property to someone in an area where you're not sure if the intermediary is legitimate. You don't have to worry about that in this peer to peer, and the contracts are there. They've already been verified, and tens of thousands of people are already using. Yeah, it's a really great space, and I'm definitely happy to kind of be involved in it for what I have, and excited for the future. I think that I can't wait. Every year is different, and I'm with what's been happening with BlackRock and the Ripple case. I think things are turning around now. We're kind of at the end, nearing the end of the bear market, and bull market is always an exciting time, and I think each bull market is kind of bigger than the last, and I think more important than price is bringing people into the ecosystem to show what we can do and continue to build, and promoting these awesome use cases. So I'm excited to see what here.
100%. We're all in the same boat. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to come up and ask any questions or make any final comments? I see Sam around, David or Norbert, maybe. Any of y'all? Any final comments? Sounds like everyone's done. So awesome. I mean, I think we can call it a day. Blazar, like it was. Oh, David is up. Okay, awesome. David, what's up?
It was a great conversation, and we learned a lot. Great questions from Emilio and yourself, and Blazer did a great job answering all of them. So it's a wrap for me. I'm all good on this side.
Thank you.
Awesome. Glad you enjoyed it, David. And well, like thanks everyone for joining. Blazar, it's been a pleasure as always. It was a great convo, and hopefully we'll have some more in the next couple weeks. So yeah, like thank you for joining, and thanks everyone for joining.
Yeah, highly appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me on, and definitely check us out. Check out Furucombo. Let us know what you think. Very happy to be working with Metis into the future, and we hope that we can continue to build and share our awesome products with you. Awesome chat today.
Cheers, everyone.